Alertwolf here to bring you another DC Nation review, and this time it's Green Lantern, the animated series, episode 23, and this one is called Larfleeze, obviously, because it's the Orange Lantern episode. As you can see, you got Hal in the background. Now, what am I going to say about this week's episode? Well, basically, this show was about, obviously, the issues with Razor, and Aya and everything else. So they're discussing what to do because, and he's, it starts off, he gets chewed, Hal gets chewed out by the Guardians, and it's like, what are they going to do? They need to update their server, and basically, so they could, their nav computer, they need to replace it. So, and they are ordered back after they need to sit down to do this, and afterwards they're ordered back to the Green Lantern homeworld, or to Oa, so that they could, the Guardians can come up with a plan to, destroy her, basically. And what happens here is they're talking about needing a game changer and stuff like that. But what ends up happening is Razor suggests, what about the orange power? And they're like, orange power? Yeah, for the Orange Lanterns. The Orange Lanterns. And so he explains that when Atrocitus first started taking over the zones, he fought against the Orange Lanterns, who defeated him, or fought him to a standstill, not defeated him, just kept them from winning. It was a stalemate. So basically, they're like, all right, let's go find. They're like, so where are the Orange Lanterns now? And they're like, well, they disappeared overnight. Nobody knows what happens to them, but I know where the homeworld is. And so they're like, how come no one's ever gone after this power before? They're like, they have, just nobody's ever come back. So they go off to find the orange power, the Orange Lantern battery. So they go to Larfleeze's homeworld, and they split up and finally talk to Razor, Kilowog does, about the fact that basically this is his fault for being a douche. To Aya, and Razor acknowledges he knows it's all his fault, and any other deaths that occur is his fault because he did this to her. And goes, well, you can't blame yourself, and you never really got to have that long talk with him. Meanwhile, Hal finds the battery, does battle with Larfleeze, and starts slowly being possessed by the Orange Lanterns. The others join him, help him fight off Larfleeze. They beat him, and then they bounce with the battery. They're about to leave with the battery when all of a sudden, it starts taking Hal over, and he turns all Orange Lantern on you. Pretty cool scene. I think I'm going to use that as the thumbnail. And then he goes back into the planet to where Larfleeze has all his stuff, and he puts on the rings, hence the scene behind me. And, that's right out of a comic book cover. If you see, I have the comic somewhere, but looking through my library would take forever to show you the comparison. And that goes off of an even older cover that it was paying homage to. Alright, sorry, I was having a little brain fart there. Yeah, it's an homage to an older cover, when Hal goes crazy because he gets possessed by Parallax. And he becomes evil and destroys the Lantern Corps way back in the day. And if you haven't read this story, this classic story, read it. Years later is when they explain that he was possessed by the spirit, and he had the gray hair here, and it's a great story. One of those classic stories, all about the events taken out from Superman, the death of the rebirth of Superman, and the destruction of Central City while he was off world. Like it's a great story. Go back and read it. It is one of those things. But anyway, that's what this is in homage to those two comic book covers. So basically, you get a fight between the Orange Lantern, Larfleeze, and the Russ, Kilowog, and Razor make a deal that they need to get the orange battery back to him, and that this is what's going to go down. So there's a battle scene between all three of them, and they're all getting their ass kicked, honestly, because Hal's too powerful. Because basically, the one thing about the orange light is that one battery is the central battery, only it's small and portable. So having them is the equivalent of having the power of an entire core to yourself. It's not like he's as strong as a regular lantern. Technically, you know, the orange light is probably your single most powerful lantern, next to someone who's a vessel for the spirit of each color, because it's not like his light is divided out to an entire core. His light is just his and his alone. And in this case, you know, Hal had possession of it. And Larfleeze's powers were downgraded to almost like a single lantern's power, basically. But during the end of the battle, they start noticing that the lights in the stars in the sky start going out, and there's your that helps snap things into perspective, and they were able to snap Jordan out of it, and he was able to give back, get unpossessed by the orange power with the power of will, and give Larfleeze back the battery. Larfleeze reciprocates and like, oh, thanks, you know, maybe I'll give you guys something, maybe not, you guys go away. And so that's the end of the episode. But they don't, and they mention to, well, you know, they tell Kilowog tells Razor that they're gonna have to put her down because she's destroying star systems, and Razor's arguing, and you know, they ask Hal for his opinion, and he's like, listen, he goes, I would have agreed with that plan, but you guys stopped me from being a monster, so maybe we could save her too. And that's the end of the episode. Yeah. So this episode should, you know what it is? You have expectations for certain things, and sometimes the expectations can outweigh the work. Like, I've known this episode was coming ever since they gave us this screenshot in the trailer, for the relaunch for this part of the season. So I've been expecting big things for the Orange Lantern, because a lot of us love Larfleeze as a character. He's hilarious, he's funny, you know, that's what makes him so good. And his portrayal in this, I felt like there wasn't enough of him. Like, there wasn't enough Larfleeze. And it's like he's such a good character, and they barely scratched the surface with him. And so I was a little disappointed by this episode, only because my expectations for it were so high. I set the bar too high for this episode. Now, having said that, if I take my expectations away and look at this episode objectively, as far as story progression goes, you know, if the series ever continues, this will be important later, that they made contact with the Orange Lantern. But it was like a stopgap. It was stalling, you know. But it was important. It was important because we finally had some acknowledgement of Razor and this being his fault. And they finally addressed that issue. I know I was talking with somebody in the comments about it. We were hoping it would happen by this episode because they delayed it for too long, I think. Somebody needed to have the talk with them. And yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say this episode was about a 3. You know, it was enjoyable. You know, the few nuggets that we did get from Larfleeze, I enjoyed. And yeah. So you know, it's a solid 3 maybe a 3.5 out of 5. Yeah, I'm gonna go there because it was a highly enjoyable episode. We did get to see the orange power. We did get to see Hal going bad, and there was a couple of cool fights in there. So when you take all of that in, it was a good episode. So you know what? I'll kick it up to 3.5 out of 5. So this has been Alert Wolf, telling you to click it up if you like it, comment if you must, and please subscribe if you can. And this is Alert Wolf signing off.